look up the data. See how many times Donald Trump has failed to pay his contractors over the last 30 years. It's in the hundreds. He claims it's because they didn't do good work. This coming from a guy who claims he only hires the best people. Trump knows that the people, honest, hardworking contractors, don't have the resources to fight him in court. That's not standing up for the working man. Donald Trump, I'd like to talk directly to you. Are you going to put me in jail for criticizing your Supreme Court? Because I think Clarence Thomas is a disgrace to the Supreme Court.
Oh my God! I had no idea he was this based. I had no idea he was this based. Friends, if you have a second or two, click like, comment down below. I would really appreciate it. Thank you guys, and I hope you enjoy the video. Mick Foley with a message to America and Donald Trump. Oh, please be based. Please, God, be based. When I saw the Undertaker stumping for Trump, man, that shit hurt. That hurt. That hurt, man. Wrestling was a big part of, like, you know, when I was in high school, I loved WCW, WWF. Loved it, man. And so when I saw, dude, and I don't know if you guys have seen this clip. To me, it's so gross. Let me find it. Give me a second. I tweeted too much yesterday, so I got to scroll for a little bit. When I saw this, oh God, it hurt.
Can I bring my daughter?
Absolutely.
Okay, come here.
Wow, such a beautiful. That's what I call a beautiful daughter, huh?
Thank you. She is. Can I bring?
It hits a little different when he's on camera telling an 8-year-old he'll be dating her in 10 years, you know? And when, you know, a 13-year-old girl, a woman, accused him of her when she was 13 years old with Jeffrey Epstein, and him walking in on the Miss Teen Universe dressing room with underage girls just casually walking around. You know, it just hits a little different when he goes, oh, that's a beautiful daughter. Mick Foley, please be based. Whatever you're about to say, please be based.
So Mick, you wanted to talk about the election?
Yeah, I think it's really important to talk about the election. I think it's important for everyone to have a moment where enough's enough. I mean, for me, enough was enough 8 years ago. The Undertaker is correct in saying Donald Trump made politics fun again.
You've made politics fun again.
For about 3 weeks in 2016. But it's 8 years later, and there's absolutely nothing fun about this man.
No, I mean, I don't know if fun is the word that I would use, man, but like 2016, I will say, was fascinating. It got me back into politics. You know, I was super into politics when I was in my college years, and it got me back into politics, watching him sort of ascend the Republican primary. And it was like, it was so fast. I just couldn't look away. I couldn't look away, you know? And then it stopped being funny the day he won. As soon as he won, like none of that was funny anymore. And at that point, it was legitimately scary, you know? Like I remember the next day thinking like, do I need to delete my tweets? Like, is he going to start like throwing dissidents in jail? And like, it was like, and in retrospect, all of that was like, not all of it, but like 99% of my concerns were totally vindicated because he ended up being worse. He ended up being even worse. Like what he did after the 2020 election, culminating with January 6th, was just, it was the most traitorous action a United States president has ever taken in the history of our republic. And so he's right. It was kind of fun and funny during the Republican primaries in 2016. And then the 2016 election cycle was just so crazy, and then stopped being funny as soon as he won.
To me, there's nothing fun about a man who could be the next president of the United States talking about the enemy within, making it clear that this was not a mistake. This is his go-to line, the enemy within, the enemy within, the enemy within.
It's the enemy from within. The enemy from within. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in.
Which he co-opted from Senator Joseph McCarthy, one of the worst people to ever grace our planet. What frustrates me the most is that so many good...
Thank God, I knew he was based. I knew he was based. Everybody talks about the Hell in a Cell match with Undertaker as like his crowning achievement. But you should watch some of his ECW matches with Sabu back in the day. That was some crazy shit. You should watch his match with The Rock, when The Rock hit him in the head with a chair like 14 times. Like, this guy's a legend in wrestling.
The hardworking American people cannot see through such an obvious con man who is only out for himself. The idea that the working man thinks this guy is behind them has obviously not looked into his past. I know people work hard. They don't always have time to go home and do their research.
Like, Donald Trump supporters, Like Donald Trump has a storied history of just not paying the people that he contracts to do work on his properties. Not just once or twice or three times. He routinely would just, for decades. And you can look this up. Like, you can look it up yourself. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can look it up for yourself. For decades, this man would just stiff his contractors that did work on his various properties. Just completely stiff them. And then you can see there have been multiple, like, on the street interviewing Trump supporters, and a lot of, some people will ask, like, what do you think about the fact that he just didn't pay his contractors? And every single time his own supporters are like, well, they probably just didn't do a good enough job. And it's like how can you let yourself be conned by this guy, man? It just blows me away. Blows my mind. He went into a Twitter space with Elon and was praising Elon for, firing people that wanted to unionize in Tesla. And they were like laughing about it. And then you have the Teamsters that are like, we're not going to endorse a candidate this year. Like, after Joe Biden literally saved their pensions. And then people delude themselves into thinking that he's for the working man. I mean, Donald Trump might be the greatest con man of all time. Whatever.
But instead of tuning into your favorite news station of choice, look up the data. See how many times Donald Trump has failed to pay his contractors and workers over the last 30 years. It's in the hundreds. He claims it's because they didn't do good work. This coming from a guy who claims he only hires the best people. I claim he's screwing over the working man. Kevin Nash today told me a story about going into the venue that used to be the Taj Mahal, mentioning Trump's name and seeing the bartender roll his eyes. And the bartender told a story about how his father was an electrical contractor, worked hard his whole life to build up that business. And then when Trump did not pay him for the work he did in the Taj Mahal, and the man was unable to fight it because he didn't have the resources to fight it. Trump knows that the people, honest, hardworking contractors, don't have the resources to fight him in court. And he bankrupts them. Their dreams disappear. That's not standing up for the working man.
No!
Words are cheap, and he lies almost every time he opens his mouth. But you know what he's not lying about? When he talks about coming after the enemy within. The enemy within. Who is that? It could be
radical communists and Marxists. People like me. When Donald Trump talks about the evil within, or the enemy within, he's talking about people like me. Like, literally, people like me. He's telling his supporters that I'm a deranged communist. Like, just a median Democratic voter. We all get thrown into this, like, we're all deranged communists.
Anyone. It could be me. An article came out today in NPR, October 22nd, 2024, with a study that showed Donald Trump had issued over 100 threats to people he perceived as his political rivals. He has threatened to impeach and prosecute Kamala Harris. He accused Barack Obama of treason. He said his chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, General Mark Milley, should be executed. He did nothing to stop what could have been the death of Mike Pence, his own vice president.
Crowd chants, hang Mike Pence. There's a hangman's noose outside.
And now he's gone so far as to say that anyone who criticizes the Supreme Court and other judges should be put in jail.
I knew that let's just be real. Mick Foley is, if there's a Mount Rushmore of wrestling, you could arguably say that Mick Foley belongs on that mountainside sculpture. But I had no idea that he was this based. He sounds like a genuinely, like, super intelligent guy. I've never heard him talk about politics before, but the way he talks, it's just, he's making these points, these really important points in really good ways. Like, I had no idea he was this based. Now I'm 100% sure he should be on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
So, Donald Trump, I'd like to talk directly to you. Are you going to put me in jail for criticizing your Supreme Court? Because I think Clarence Thomas is a disgrace to the Supreme Court.
Oh my God! I had no idea he was this based. Oh my God, my already sky-high opinion of him has just shot up past a 10. Now he's at like a 15 or a 16. Jesus.
I think Samuel Alito is a horrible person who doesn't belong on the highest court in the land. I don't think Brett Kavanaugh's interview in front of the Senate would have landed him a job as a dishwasher, let alone serving in the Supreme Court.
Wow. God, I love Mick Foley. Dude, speaking of Kavanaugh, oh my God. There was one moment that struck me as just that the craziest moment during that Senate confirmation hearing was this.
People have done some drinking in high school and college, and many people even struggle with alcoholism and binge drinking. My own dad struggled with alcoholism most of his life, and he got in trouble for it, and there were consequences. He is still in AA at age 9.
Wait, hold on. This was after, hold on. This was after they had a testy exchange.
Repeat that in a public hearing.
I will. Could I just ask one more question?
Redacted information about that.
Okay, drinking is one thing, but the concern is about truthfulness. And in your written testimony, you said sometimes you had too many drinks. Was there ever...
Now, he had to be careful here because it's like, if he admits to blacking out, then he can't even 100% deny the allegations at the time. The allegations at the time was that him and one of his friends sexually assaulted, I'm forgetting her name. What was her name again? At a high school party decades before, decades before or something like that. And Christine Blasey Ford, that's her name, yes. And if he admits to drinking so much in his past that he had blacked out, then he can't possibly deny the allegations, right? There's going to be a possibility, right? Because if you blacked out, how could you remember what you did or whatever?
A time when you drank so much that you couldn't remember what happened or part of what happened the night before?
No, I remember what happened, and I think you've probably had beers, Senator, and so
you're saying there's never been a case where you drank so much that you didn't remember what happened the night before or part of what happened?
You're asking about, blackout. I don't know. Have you?
Ooh, and he didn't know her dad was a recovering alcoholic. Ooh, and then he had to they took a little break. And then when they came back, he issued an apology for this. Just this was and you can see her face this mother just said what?
Could you answer the question, Judge? That's not happened. Is that your answer?
Yeah, and I'm curious if you have.
I have no drinking problem, Judge.
Yeah, nor do I.
Okay, thank you.
Wow. And then she came back and expanded on it with this.
90, and he's sober. And in his words, he was pursued.
And you can tell he's just just got to take this one on the chin.
By grace, and that's how he got through this. So in your case, you have said here and other places that you never drank so much that you...
And anyways, I'll never forget that moment.
I mean, I'm so scared that I was thinking about calling you a douchebag in this interview. And then I thought, that's a pretty strong word. Trump might come after me. And I made the decision not to call you a douchebag, even though you are one. Vote for Kamala Harris.
Thank God, bro. Thank God. So many of my wrestling idols are just the worst, Jericho is just my all-time favorite wrestler. I think he's just the funniest, most charismatic wrestler in the history of all wrestling. He's a big Trump guy. The Rock. Ugh. Very glad to find out that Mick Foley is one of the good ones, because that was base. That was great.